All right, we're gonna try this again. Let me take Bobby Two Trill.
What's up, man?
Bobby Two Trill is here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we
all.
we tried to do this. Actually, we did. We didn't try. We actually fucking did it. The podcast on Monday talking about the Gilgo
Yeah,
Beach Murders and or the Long Island serial killer, as it's also known. And had some technical issues. For some reason, my roadcaster did not connect to StreamYard, so we're gonna do it all over, which is actually kind of a good thing because some more things have come up. This is going to sound like a whole lot of repeating for those who joined us the first time because I am going to go through the timeline a
yeah.
little bit because there's some pretty interesting things that are coming up. And one of the big talking points right now, or at least from the past 24 hours, is back in 2010, there was a witness and an actual physical altercation with a suspect. And one of the women, her name is Amber. Oh, her last name slips my
Is
mind.
it Costello?
Costello, yes.
That's
Amber
it.
Costello, who was a sex worker. And there was an incident in 2010, just prior to her disappearance, where there was some arguments going on. She had literally locked herself in the bathroom from this guy. And I think it was what her roommate, is that what the Associated Press article said? It was her roommate or somebody she lived with,
Yeah, I think
somebody
that's what it
that
was
that
saying.
knew her quite
Yeah,
another a male.
yeah.
And he stepped in, got into an altercation, told the police this is a Frankenstein look, like figure,
Mhm.
huge, 6'4", 6'7", white guy, dark hair, glasses.
Yeah.
He had a very unique vehicle that he was witness getting into and leaving that particular area,
Hmm.
because it was a Chevy Avalanche, but it was like a special edition. There wasn't many, they say it was unique because of it being, a special edition. So not hard to track, you wouldn't think.
Yeah,
There's
right.
special editions, I'm guessing there's only a certain amount that
Yeah,
come out,
yeah.
in certain areas. It seems like it would have been pretty easy, but for 13 years, it it was like the cops were sitting on their hands,
Yeah, his blinders on, man, for some
blinders.
reason.
A lot of people are blaming the police chief. There's allegations of some police corruption as to make this case go cold for whatever reasons. Um, Again, we don't know a whole lot of the details of that because that is being speculated and talked about here within the past 24 hours, really. But for those who aren't familiar with the case, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. That way we can get to, some of the talking points of, what they found. They are done excavating his property. A lot of sifting. It's like an
Archaeological. I help.
that's the word. Again, words are hard today, and I got good sleep and was up early. Um, Words are hard regardless.
That's
Yes,
it.
they say it is akin to that, but they are not grading it off. They are pretty much taking big scoops, taking them to a trailer, and just kind of sifting through them to see if
Mhm.
they can find anything. I think as of yet, they have not found really anything. So let's run through this timeline real quick. B2 Trill.
All right.
And we're going to and we'll bring it up to here recently, in April 20th, because we're not going back just 2010, we're going back all the way into the mid 90s. April 20th, 420, happy 420,
Hey.
1996 style. A pair of severed legs were wrapped in plastic, were discovered on Fire Island. So that's a weird name
It
for a
is.
place, eh?
Damn.
Fire Island. It's a fireweed out there. The woman is referred to as Fire Island Jane Doe. Her remains are the first indication that something sinister is amiss. November of 2000. And I mentioned this when we did the podcast before. You got 4 years. Okay, we got a body. We don't know. I don't know if they mentioned when this body was actually, when the murder actually happened. But 4 years later, in November, partial remains of a woman are found in Manorville, Long Island. The woman's referred to as Manorville Jane Doe. They don't know what the hell is going on here. They don't know if they're related or what.
Yeah.
Skip ahead to July of 2003. Partial remains of a woman are found again in Manorville, in the same location that they were found 3 years prior. Marine, the first of the Gilgo Four, and it's weird how this all came about. The Gilgo Four, the Gilgo Beach, they found remains of people they weren't even looking for.
Right.
They were looking for somebody completely different, and ended up stumbling across all these different remains. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25. She was seen alive for the last time. That was July 9th, 2007. She was living in Connecticut and worked as a sex worker. She often traveled down to Manhattan to meet clients. Interestingly enough, Rex Heuermann worked in Manhattan. And she did that. She went to Manhattan looking for clients the week she went missing. In 2009, July 12th, Melissa Bartholomew, I'm slaughtering that, 24, of the Bronx, disappears. She was also a sex worker. The night she disappeared, she told a friend she was visiting a client. After her disappearance, her family received several phone calls from her cell phone in New York City, but on the other end was the voice of a man. Wasn't the voice of Melissa. It was the voice of a man. Interesting. Shannon Gilbert, in 2010, May 1st, Jersey City, disappears. She disappears after visiting the home of Joseph Brewer in Oak Beach, a gated community. Detectives said that Brewer was not a suspect in the investigation. But Gilbert did call 911 before she disappeared. There is it was like a 20-minute phone call, I believe, of the 911 call, and that was kind of eerie. Did you got a chance to hear that? Didn't you, a little bit? What'd you think about that? I mean, that should have already red flags.
Oh yeah,
why were if you call and actually don't even talk to somebody on 911, they send somebody out to your house anyway.
Right on.
Why was this? I mean, she's saying that, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me.
Yeah.
Stop. Get away from me. What are you doing? I mean,
that's, I don't know.
It doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah. And that was a pretty eerie 911 call. June 6, 2010, Megan Waterman, 22, from Maine, is seen alive for the last time at the Hotel Inn Express in Hapagi, New York. Whatever. Slaughtering the hell out of that. She was a sex worker and had a little 3-year-old daughter. Amber Lynn Costello, who we just mentioned, in September 2nd of 2010, disappeared. She lived in West Babylon, New York. She was last seen leaving her residence to meet a client. At the time of her disappearance, she did not have a cell phone on her and was never reported missing. The first remains of the Gilgo Four are found in December of 2010. Now, they're out there looking, as I mentioned, for Shannon Gilbert, and happened to come across skeletal remains of Melissa. Her remains weren't identified, though, for about another month. She was wrapped in burlap and put in a thick brush down there in Gilgo Beach. And let's see, December 13th, 2010, investigators returned to the area where they discover the first body and find 3 more badly decomposed. Well, it's like they walked into a fucking nightmare. We're
Yeah.
just we're thinking we're just looking for.
Yeah.
You got a pug over there snoring his
Yeah.
ass off.
Yeah.
They think they're just going out looking for one woman.
Yeah, Gilbert.
Now they have
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
And well, actually they have 3 because they still haven't found Shannon yet. They find all these other people, all these other women before, they actually find Shannon. This is the first time, December 2010, that they really start thinking we might have a serial killer on our hands.
Yeah. It's amazing how things happen sometimes. Looking
Weird.
for somebody and just stumble across something like that.
You're looking for one person, stumble across 3 decomposing bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
You said it's weird how that happens.
It is. Hey, Joey, look what I found.
Hey, what you got over there? Eh? I got a freaking body. You got a freaking another one?
Hey, Joey, look, there's a thigh over here.
Hey, what you doing over there? I want to welcome Tanya, Mr. Nanners, to the show. So they, where am I at here? Investigators identified 22-year-old Megan Waterman. This is January 19th, 2011, as one of the bodies found on Gilgo Beach. She was the first of what would become known as the Gilgo Four. See, they're even coming up with, and I don't mean to make light, but they're even coming up with better names for the victims than Delphi did with the actual killer.
Yeah, that's the truth of it.
I mean, the Gilgo Four, that's something that catches your attention. It almost has a political sound to it. You remember they'd have like the Chicago 7 or whatever it was.
Right.
All right, but she was the first one to be identified, and the first one as far as the Gilgo Four. In January still 2011, Suffolk County Police identify the 3 other bodies found in December of 2010 as Melissa, Amber, and Maureen. In March of that year, in another attempt to find Shannon, still haven't found her, a 5th body is found along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach and Oak Beach. The remains recovered less than a mile from where the Gilgo Four were discovered. It's all pretty much in the same area.
Yeah.
All pretty much in the same area. March 31st, investigators are still unable to identify the 5th body, but they confirm that the remains belong to a woman. They say the body does not belong to Gilbert, so still no signs of Shannon. Police find 3 more victims in April of 2011 in the area between Oak Beach and Gilgo Beach, bringing the total count of victims to 8, with still no sign of Shannon.
Right.
So you got 8 plus 1.
Yeah, things ain't looking good.
It's not looking good. This is going down a road that I don't think investigators ever had any idea that this was going to happen.
No, but I'm thinking that they're probably thinking, hey guys, I'm pretty sure we know where we're going to find Shannon at.
Yeah, I mean, we're zeroing in on the area.
This is not good,
at least, right? Yeah, this is not good at all. Let's see. They where we at? What did I say? April 4th. They find 3 more victims, and investigators identify the victims as Jane Doe number 6, a baby girl, and an Asian man. Going way out of what seems to be his focal point when it comes to his victims, because they were all street workers or streetwalkers, sex workers, and now all of a sudden we have what is they later identify as a 18 to 24 month, year and a half to 2-year-old child. And an Asian man.
Yeah, really bizarre.
That went way out of his. What do you think about that? Yeah, I mean, you had some thoughts on it, possibly what it could be. Maybe he, was doing a little.
Didn't get what he bargained for.
Transgender, and he didn't get what he bargained for.
It could have been with a guy Very possible, I would think. Or maybe he felt humiliated about it because he seemed to like women and he was married.
Sure.
Stuff. I don't know. But it does go from bad to worse and sad to sadder when you talk about a kid being found. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's really just upsetting there.
Yeah,
And
the baby girl was found wrapped in a blanket and between 18 and 24 months old when she died. Investigators say they are unsure if she was murdered. They believe the man was in his late teens and early 20s when he died. Also, although a cause of death was not revealed, police say he died a violent death. He was found wearing what investigators refer to as women's clothing.
there you go.
So maybe you're onto something there. Maybe he like you said, maybe he didn't get what he was
Yeah.
what he bargained for.
Right.
He went down south and found something he didn't want to find.
No, because as we'll come to see,
Or
with
maybe that was part of his thing too.
yeah. Well, as we'll come to see with the newer updates now,
Throw that cat out the
he
door.
he has the ability to be violent. You know that
Yeah.
if he doesn't get what he wants or something like that.
Mhm.
So it very well could have been. It's just I thought I was getting a woman. I didn't
And
get
I
a woman,
didn't
and
get
it really
yeah.
made him mad. It's a big guy too.
Right. No, yeah,
Yeah,
you don't want to make him mad. He's going to outpower
Oh,
and
yeah.
overpower, most people he comes in contact with.
Yeah.
In April of 2011, for the first time, they expand outside. They expand their search outside of there and go into Nassau County, and a 9th and 10th victim are discovered. The bodies were found on Ocean Parkway in Jones Beach, about 5 miles from where the Gilgo 4 were found. Police say they have several people they consider as persons of interest, but no suspect at this point in 2011 has been named.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this, because I'm gonna pause right there, because I'm gonna call. What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
A year prior to where we are in this timeline, they had a witness who got into a physical altercation with a dude 6'4" to 6'6" or 6'4" to 6'7", whatever, in that area. Described him to a T, described his car to a T, and yet they have no persons of interest.
Yeah.
He's not even a fucking person of interest at this point.
Right.
What are the cops doing?
I said it's just like it's a lot like the Delphi thing, where this is something that should have probably been solved early on if you had competent, good investigators doing it.
Yeah.
Not to say that the ones at Delphi weren't necessarily, but this looks like a case of, hey, they finally let the reins go, just like they did in Delphi. Let's go back to the beginning and start all over.
Sure.
And then found what they were looking for at the very beginning again. It seems to happen quite a bit.
It does. It just seems to me, I mean, it just really blows my mind how much they had to go on.
Yeah.
Starting in 2010.
Yeah, first generation vehicle. Then they know the model.
Oh,
And the
yeah,
make
I
and
forgot to throw
everything.
that in there. First generation. So there are no other ones like this.
Yeah. The only people that these are sold to are the only people who have them. They were getting them on the used market or anything. They could find them very easily.
Right.
And you may have on Long Island had maybe 150 people who had these vehicles, let's say. That would help narrow it down to 150 people at least, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And then you could just look through the driver's license list, have a lineup, have this guy who had in a fight with him go, hey, who was the guy that you saw?
Right.
I mean, this investigation really should have been over with pretty quick, I would think, as far as at least pinning down a suspect.
Yeah. And it's not like these crimes were happening, all right, in a time where there was very little technology. Granted, in 96, it was, we're a lot further in 2023 than we were in 96, but we weren't cavemen in 96.
Nope.
I mean, we had pretty much, mastered the whole fingerprint thing in 96. I mean, there's technology was that was available in 96 and especially available in 2010.
Yeah.
To zero in on this guy.
Right.
And to, you know,
Now,
I
plus,
don't get it.
let, let,
God.
us look at this too. If they would have found out about him just through his vehicle and stuff back then, they wouldn't even needed a police lineup, because we also found out that they have DNA in this case. It was found in the burlap sacks. It was the hairs of this guy's wife. So they would have been able to figure it out pretty easily.
Sure. Who this guy was.
Solved.
You had the hair, find out who that person is. This person's married to this person who seems to look a lot like what was described from somebody who was up close and fucking personal with him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. And that's kind of, as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of where, you know, they're at right now. They're really going over this with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, when it comes to, is there possible, you know, police corruption in here? Was it purposefully, you know, pushed down? Was this evidence pushed down to the bottom of the pile? And were they trying to purposely turn this into a cold case due to what the police chief, Jim Burke, happened to have going on with him?
The way everybody knows he was crooked. He refused to let anybody help. He didn't want to get the FBI involved. He didn't want to use any of that technology for this case. He just didn't seem interested in it at all.
He didn't. He really didn't.
Yeah, and it looks like there might be a reason for that.
There really is. Let's talk about that for a little bit. We'll get back to, you know, the timeline, but this is a lot of new shit's come out here in the past, you know, few days. Over the weekend, they were excavating his home, looking for things. So far, nothing's come out. I don't believe that of anything that they found. But yes, this police chief, I don't know how he even got on the force, as one commentator on Court TV had mentioned. I don't even know how he got in on the police force, let alone move up through the ranks and become chief.
Yeah.
He was caught in a car with a sex worker with his service pistol unsecured, just laying around.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing some pretty shady shit.
He was a shady guy. And, you know, his tenure goes back to the times of the Good Old Boys and the Goodfellas in New York. And, you know, he's definitely very corrupt. You know, look the other way. But would you
say, because, I mean, you had didn't you have a past girlfriend who lived out in Long Island or around there, had family or something up there?
Bronx.
In the Bronx?
Yeah.
Have you ever been out to Long Island?
I've driven through it when we went to visit her family, but no, never really.
I'm just curious, because it seems to be a very exclusive kind of, like, you know, because you know, the money's big out there is the impression I got. Correct me if I'm wrong. There may be lower, you know, levels of income when it comes to out there, but it seems to me that there may be that good old boy thing happening there.
Oh yeah.
We've seen that with the Delphi, the Amityville murders. What was his name? Defoe.
Yeah. DeFeo.
That there was almost, his dad was linked, what was said to be possibly linked to some mafia business and dealings with being a car salesman and thing, and that it was said to maybe just be a front. So I'm wondering if that is still prevalent today, which is why I asked you if you ever been out there, if you had any interactions, if you got that feeling. I don't know a whole lot about Long Island.
No, that's for me. Anybody that I would known out there through her family and stuff were pretty straight laced. So
yeah,
I wouldn't have seen it or nothing.
I mean, yeah,
but you know, you just know through, you know, just everyday things that happen. You know, there's stuff that goes on.
Sure.
You know, behind the scenes. You know, little deals and things like that. And a lot of times, I even had an ancestor, you know, back in the 30s, who was, you know, helping to get a certain person elected as a chief of police just because it would help with their bootlegging business. You know, so you try to get people on, if you're people like that, to try to, you know, just look the other way, man, when we do something stupid, and we'll give you a little bit of dough, or, let you get
Can you
away
put
with
this
whatever
cat
you want.
out there?
Here, cat, come here.
Yeah, we're rearranging. We're being scaled by cats. You go shut that door for me. Yeah, we'll shut that. We're being bombarded by crazy ass cats.
Oh, they're adorable though.
So yeah,
They're cute.
You know what? I just kind of feel like there may be. I see it, in like a lot of like rich communities,
Yeah.
man. That it's almost like you're in a whole nother world.
Yeah.
I like there's almost that good old boy mentality in that really upper class environment, which is kind of how I see Long Island. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, a lot of them belong to the same social clubs and things like that too, because they got that money.
They got the money,
and they all like to hang around with each other, talk about how they spent their money.
Right.
So, when you're in a clique like that, obviously, if you're going to have a leader, you'd rather that leader come from your clique. And it's not just there. I mean, that happens in a lot of places. But
the other possibility is that as far as why this case seemed to be just dragging balls for 10 years, almost to the point of like purposefully, dragging balls for 13 years. Sorry. Is that, a lot of these women were sex workers.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe they were looked down on,
not given priority.
Yeah, they were not given priority. They were looked down. They were found in rich upper class, area. To hell with them. They're the, they're scum.
Yeah, we're not going to let one of these rich people in this neighborhood go down for somebody like that. These people bring too many taxes. They bring too many jobs to the area.
Yeah.
They mean more than these
They
people.
mean more than this woman. Yeah.
I could see that too.
That kind of popped up in my head as well, because it just right here, Suffolk County Police say they believe all of the 10 victims found on and near Gilgo Beach may have been related to sex work.
Yeah.
So that explains, that could be partial reason outside of the police corruption. It's just ignorance. I've seen this, and I'm sure you have in other crimes or other cases. For instance, the Green River Killer, BTK, really any case where there are sex workers involved.
Yeah.
The overall, consensus of how we're going to deal with this is, or if they go missing, if they're reported missing, well, she's a prostitute, she's a sex worker.
Yeah.
It's not against the law for an adult to go missing.
Yeah, they're expendable.
Some people just want to disappear.
Yeah. So, they look at them as expendable sometimes.
Yes.
We'll start worrying about it once we hit our 7th body, let's say.
Yeah, right.
It's like the Jack the Ripper stuff back in the day. It's, once we started paying attention after the 3rd or 4th, but before that, Okay.
Yeah. It's just, it's, I guess, it's nature of the beast in that line of work, to hell with, it's,
yeah.
So
it's not very glamorous. It doesn't pay good.
Yeah. Even though only 5 of the 10 were identified, they said they believe all 10 were sex workers, but we only identified 5 of them.
Right.
So how do you know?
Right.
Why would you even come out and say that I believe all 10?
Yeah.
No, this isn't something for guessing.
Right.
We're talking about the lives of people. You're not supposed to guess here. I just think, I'm a semantics guy. I look at how people use words, and you can tell a lot about how people use words, certain phrases, the way they put. They believe all 10 victims are sex workers, even though they only 5 of them were identified. They say it is possible that one killer is responsible for all their deaths, even though her disappearance, meaning Gilbert, sparked the investigation. Investigators say they don't believe Gilbert's case is connected.
Yeah, I'm sure
this was laughed at. This was literally laughed at on court TV. I watched the video earlier where they brought up that her death was ruled accidental. As we mentioned when we tried to do this the first time, it was an accidental drowning.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
The woman who calls 911 and is screaming at them over the phone for 20 minutes, somebody's trying to kill me, just happens to be found in the same place, not where she called from, but where they found a whole bunch of bodies on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not suspicious at all to the police. Oh no, this was a natural causes. This was like a drowning. Come on now. It is amazing.
That was literally like snickered at, and people throwing their hands up in there.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? These and it.
I've often said, man, there's a problem with watching too much Columbo. And the problem with watching too much Columbo is that it teaches you to try to overthink things and not look at just what is on the surface. You got somebody who's calling 911. It's as urgent enough to call 911 and say somebody's trying to kill me, and winds up dead on a beach where there are other bodies found later on.
Yeah. And then I think, you know, it was say, oh well, you know, she was a known drug addict, you know.
I'm sure they all
her
were.
family, yeah, a lot of them were. And it was said that she, you know, maybe she was just really, really high and paranoid, thinking people were gonna hurt her, and not actually. You know, I mean, but still. Like I said, if you take and you dial 911, let's say even by accident, and hang up, you're probably going to get somebody showing up at your house. It's happened to me. And so, you know,
and not to mention, man, that this woman is the whole reason why they found any of them in the first place.
Exactly.
They were looking for her.
Yeah.
In particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
That's odd. You're looking for this woman who literally makes and is on the phone with 911 for 20 fucking minutes. They have a 20-minute 911 call.
Yeah.
And that she's the whole reason you're out looking for this. And all of a sudden, what, you weren't looking at that 911 call? You weren't. They went after the Brewer guy, Josh Brewer, whatever his name was. They cleared him of any wrongdoing. Apparently she left. They ruled out her driver because in this escort business, they have a driver that makes sure will sit outside of the client's, you know, residence, make sure for safety reasons, I guess. You know, you don't want OSHA involved. Oh, bad time to make jokes, but anyway, he was cleared. But it just seems like a lot of things weren't looked at like they should have been. Tanya says, well, maybe other things found in the area point in that direction. I'm not sure because I kind of got back to that comment a little late, so I'm not sure exactly what part of us rambling that you were referring to.
No, but I'm sure there were, you know, like her drowning possibly instead of being killed. But it very well could. There could be more to it, but what they did is they absolutely dismissed even the suggestion that she was part of this.
True.
And if I remember right, they didn't really have a cause of death for her, did they?
Oh, she said about them being sex workers, maybe other things found in the area point in that direction about being sex workers. Maybe I'm a little confused here.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, but you mean maybe the other 5 that were not identified? Maybe that's what you're referring to. You know, and they just figured, okay, well, half of them are for sure. We're just going to say they all are. Okay, maybe that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's probably right.
A little confused here when you said, how do they know they were sex workers if they weren't identified? Well, yeah, because you don't know who they are.
Don't.
If you don't know who they are, you don't know how they, how they lived their life, if they were or not. Yeah. So that's why I was questioning that. That seems like a pretty bold statement, but it was just going towards my point of it's sometimes a blind eye is turned on sex workers, escort, people
Yeah.
like that. That we're not going to look for them. They went
Yeah.
missing. Well, it's not against the law for adults to go missing.
Right.
Some people just want to disappear.
Yeah.
There's
Some
nothing
people do.
nefarious about it. There's no shit going on. They just want to disappear. So that's where I was getting to that with that. So maybe I clarified that. Whatever. A year and a half after searching, investigators find Shannon Gilbert. We finally found her. They find a cell phone, lip gloss, shoes, and a pocketbook. They say belonged to Shannon on Gilgo Beach. They say they do not believe her death is related to the 10 bodies they found in the area over the last several months. 2 days later, and 19 months after she vanished, Suffolk County Police find the skeletal remains of Shannon Gilbert on Gilgo Beach. Say her cause of death was accidental drowning. It's amazing what they can do, man, with in science nowadays, because you find just a skeleton.
Right.
And you can tell they drowned.
Yeah.
There's not even lungs there.
Nothing.
Nothing. That is just fucking mind-blowing in and of itself.
It is.
And me being a skeptic the way I am, and just, I'd have to look into the science of that and see how, is it the false positives possible? I mean, because I know if you got skeletal remains and let's say, there's damage like to the spine up by the neck area, they can tell if they're, strangled or forced or, blunt trauma to the head, of course, drowning. It's crazy. I'm not denying they can't do it, but in December of 2015, after an ex-Suffolk County police chief is charged in an unrelated investigation. Notice how they make that abundantly clear. And personnel charges are made within the department. The FBI officially joins. And this is Chief Burke that we were talking about. The unrelated charges were of him being caught in a car with sex workers and his service pistol being just out and about, just laying around for anybody to grab.
Right.
Those are the unrelated charges. And then they bring in the FBI. Finally, 2015. They bring in the FBI because Burke didn't want him involved.
Yep, he didn't.
Because guess what? The FBI comes in, they're going to shed light on your shit.
Yep.
Because they're going to look at everyone. They're looking at everything. I mean, the people investigating it, they're on their side. The cops and the FBI working together doesn't mean you're not going to get looked at.
Right.
Maybe he was afraid of that. Let's see. FBI joins. Their addition comes almost exactly 5 years after the first of the Gilgo 4 were found. Shannon Gilbert's mother, who is credited for the discovery of the Gilgo bodies because of how she pushed for her daughter's search, is found stabbed to death in her apartment. This is 2016. Not related to this. It says Mary Gilbert was 52 years old. Her daughter, Sarah Elizabeth Gilbert, was charged in her death.
Yeah.
Let's see. Police released photos of a belt imprinted with letters HM or MH, or some are saying like WH, depending on how it's turned or whatever. Maybe that belt, it can only be one way, so it's either HM or MH. Jane Doe number 6 in 2020. And that was also when they found the belt was in 2020. May, Jane Doe number 6, Manorville Jane Doe is identified as Valerie Mack, 24-year-old sex worker from Philly. She was last seen in the spring of 2000 near Atlantic City. Months later, partial remains of her were found in Manorville. 11 years later, the rest of her remains were discovered at Gilgo Beach. Now, Manorville, if I'm not mistaken, as I read earlier, was about 5 miles from Gilgo Beach, 5 miles up the road. It's pretty close, but not directly there. Mac had never been officially reported as a missing persons. Investigators were able to identify Mac after being given the green light to use genetic genealogy to identify remains. And when I brought this up Monday, that's something that was used in the Golden State Killer.
Sure was.
Yeah, I think they got his daughter's DNA or something. They were able to trace it to him using genealogy. And you're big on looking into genealogy and things like that. Is it you think that's like the way to go now? It seems like that's how some investigations are going, using that.
I can see why they would.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to the person whether they agree with it or not. Getting into people's private, it's up
to them. I wonder if they. I mean, I'm sure they could subpoena them. We need your gene. We need to get into that.
And when it's deceased people, they obviously they don't really have to get anything for them.
Sure.
So they can build a whole family tree just off the DNA that somebody is given. That can lead. They'll take it actually from and go back to the 1800s or something. Take that family tree back down to where it is now. And find out the families in the area who have that DNA and stuff. They could really narrow it down like that. And yeah, I see it being a big thing for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I do. It probably is going to become a lot easier to do as well.
Sure.
There's going to be advancements made in it for sure, or they're just going to be able to do this pretty quick. I think. With all the AI and the computer and stuff that's coming out, they'll be able to do a family tree on somebody in no time.
Right.
Through DNA. So
12 years after the 911 call from Gilbert, Suffolk police released the 22-minute 911 phone call from Gilbert the night she disappeared in 2010. Yeah. 12 years.
Yeah.
In 12 years, they've done, it seems like, nothing to follow up on what seemed to be really good fucking leads.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a guy who's, swinging on him, getting into, a little scuffle.
And she's hiding in the bathroom.
She's hiding in the bathroom, scared to death of him.
And then she winds up dead not too long after that.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, hey, and they never even looked for this guy.
They really turned a blind eye, and this thing drug out. But finally, just this month, about almost 2 weeks ago, Rex Huerman is arrested in Midtown Manhattan. He's charged in the deaths of Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, and Melissa Bartholomew, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna try that anymore. Investigators also name him as the prime suspect in the death of Maureen. So there's 4. Of course, with Shannon being said to be accidental drowning, they're not naming him.
Yeah,
in that
it might be something that they go back and revisit. I'm sure. Shannon's mom has passed away now because of the sister, and it's hard to know if she's got even anybody to speak for her right now. To really push it, I don't know. It's pretty sad if they don't, for her sake.
Yeah. Tanya says he's probably the killer.
Yeah, it seems like it.
If you're talking about Rex, he probably is, because there was some cell phone
and DNA evidence,
some DNA, some cell phone. He was using a lot of burner phones, some Google searches that were quite disturbing. The cop. The chief. The Chief Burke. Some people were actually looking at him.
Yeah, they were
as well. I mean, because of his charges and his history, that's you don't leave that stone unturned.
I do believe they found in his possession a suitcase full of sexual devices and things like that as well. And he said that he would use on prostitutes. Then this is your police chief guy. This is the guy in charge,
right?
And this is what he's doing at the time. So people were eyeballing him. I know for a couple of years, thinking, I wonder if he's involved in this, because he was so shady. He didn't want to do anything to investigate. He didn't want to bring.
He was kind of trying to almost silence it, push it as a cold case, which would make somebody think, well, why don't you want this solved?
Yeah, and he had a history of knowing these sex workers as well.
Yeah. Tanya mentions he can plan evidence too.
Yeah, absolutely right.
I mean that he's inside.
Yeah.
And she says that'd be why he got smoothed over. These are all great points. Great points, Tanya.
Absolutely.
These are all good possibilities. They're very plausible.
Yeah.
And that's why they are now kind of focusing on. I think with the lack of investigation done and the amount of leads and the good leads that they had to go on 13 years ago, and the fact that nothing even transpired until 13 years later, after this chief was out, is cause for alarm. That's a red flag.
Right.
That is something I believe needs to be thoroughly looked at.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care if you got Rex in prison now or in jail now, in custody now, and that seems to be your guy.
Yeah.
I that doesn't matter. You need to completely, exonerate, and you got to wipe him off the list. You got to go through, everything, his alibis, everything. I don't care if he's a ex-police chief or not.
Yeah.
He's a shady motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he apparently is, somewhat of a sexual deviant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. And you're known to be around town with prostitutes with loaded guns just laying around.
Yep.
Come on now. So it is, with the Delphi case.
Yeah.
My first thought was, hey, it's the sheriff.
That was a lot of people's first thoughts too.
It's the sheriff because he had the same build.
It looked like it.
He looked just like him. I mean, so it's not that, we're hating on cops, but you have to look in any direction. I don't care what your title is. If you're chief of police, if you're fucking mayor, it doesn't matter. You're getting looked at. If you're to make sure that you are, we're not, involved in this at all.
Oh, yeah, BTK wore a badge, man. Russell Williams was in charge of a whole Air Force base in Canada. Big Air Force people, serial killers, You gotta look at everybody.
Everyone.
Anybody's capable of doing it. It doesn't matter their profession.
What was that name? Russell what?
Russell Williams.
Yes, I think me and I watched a little Air Force captain or some shit, or he was a high ranking one.
Really, he was the highest ranking there at in Toronto.
Yeah, I remember hearing about him.
Yeah, he had a lot of people under his command and stuff, and he was killing females and stealing their clothes and wearing their clothes and taking pictures and breaking into people's houses, and he killed a lot of people.
So it doesn't matter your title or how good good standings you are. Yeah. In history, the Pope used to have people killed so anyone can be a killer.
Yeah.
You got that right. It's in all of us. It's just most of us have that little voice that says, you don't look good in orange.
Right.
Don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's morally wrong. Right. Take somebody's life just, willy-nilly.
Right on.
I mean, but it's in all of us.
It goes on and on. As a matter of fact, it might be a little bit more trendy to think that most serial killers have really good jobs or good lives. Most seem to. I mean, Ted Bundy, he was going to be a lawyer, a real smart guy. John Gacy was a community leader.
Yeah.
You never know.
It could be anybody. Facebook user, sorry, I'm not sure who you are, but it just accentuating. Is that a word? Am I making things up?
Accentuating?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. That word. Police have shown time and time again they don't care to look for sex workers, which is why people like Gary Ridgway got away with it for so long.
Yep.
And that's absolutely correct.
And they're easy.
It's Paige.
They're easy.
It's my daughter, Paige.
Hi, Paige.
No, that's exactly right.
They're really easy because they're going to come with you voluntarily. They're an easy target. They're as well,
especially if you don't look threatening.
Yeah,
if you don't look threatening, then
And this guy, I can see him looking like a big teddy bear, and I imagine he's got a really nasty side that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, he had that interview that you can watch on YouTube, and he seemed like a dude. Yeah, it's a guy I would probably get along with
Oh
just
yeah,
fine.
yeah. The one where he's in his
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, soft spoken.
Mhm.
Seems like a all right guy.
Yeah.
Smile on his face. You never know.
You really
Never
don't.
know.
Yeah, you really don't. So now they are pretty much at the point with this to where they've pretty much cleared out of his house.
Yeah.
They're done with the search warrant. Now it's just that time consuming part of going through everything that they found.
Yep.
Tanya said she'd put money on that as a cop. The cop solely? The chief? You think it's solely the chief, or was he just, maybe involved in it, or just,
There could be several people involved.
There really could.
There really could.
I mean, this is a can of worms that or it could be as simple, like you said, we try to overthink it. It could be as simple as it was Rex.
Yeah.
Because it does. I'm still going to put my money on Rex.
Oh yeah.
Although I'm not turning a blind eye to the chief at all.
I would say I'm 100% on Rex, but I would say I wouldn't be surprised at all to hear that the police might have been covering it up for his sake. Might have been buddies with him, ran in the same little.
Sure.
Place. Maybe
Yeah,
possibly.
because he's a well-to-do. Rex is a well-to-do guy. Police chief, I'm sure, is rubbing shoulders with the bougie, folk in Manhattan.
But then, if you were going to tell me that this James Burke guy actually was a killer, that wouldn't surprise me.
No, that would not surprise me one bit. Not at all. But Rex. The thing with Rex that really has me putting all my eggs in the Huerman basket is these Google searches. Yes, there was what could be benign searches like Long Island serial killer updates. You'll find that in my Google search.
Yeah, me too.
What you won't find in my Google search is things like blonde teen girl with black eye. You won't find that in my Google search. You won't find some of the just nasty, just like pedophilia laced searches. And then when it came to the case, a lot of his searches were very, very specific.
Yeah, they were
extremely specific.
Yeah.
Not something that someone like me or you or anybody in the chat, would look if you're looking up serial killers and looking up true crime cases. His were Suffolk County Police Department be able to trace the Long Island serial killer from the phone records. I mean, literally they were really like that long. I mean, that was not verbatim, but I mean, literally like that long. Very, very detailed searches.
Can they pull pictures off of a burner phone? How can they track a burner phone?
Can they track a burner phone?
He was in
which it was said, which they were able to come to the conclusion that yes, these burner phones were used to contact either Craigslist ads or converse on a telephone and not his actual phone. Which a lot of people do, I guess. That way, the wife doesn't find out.
Right. Yep. Yep. They think that's going to do them some good. I mean, technology's catching up with everybody. It's really going to be hard to do this stuff in the future. It'll still happen.
It just won't take 13 years unless you have something quite corrupt going on inside.
Yeah.
And see, that's the part of it that has me like, oh man, maybe I'm not 100% on Rex, and maybe because I keep looking at that chief.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of the same hallmarks of somebody who is capable of doing this. I don't know if he's has violent tendencies. Cops are notorious for domestic violence and being that way. I'm not shitting on the cops. I'm just saying this is fact.
Yeah.
I mean, cops are just notorious being wife beaters and things like that. And just so
the DNA in the burlap sacks or the burlap bags, and the eyewitness seeing his truck and getting into the fight with him pretty much sealed it.
that kind of seals it for me. Because
and I mean, the wife with her DNA in that sack. I mean, that's
and
pretty big.
That's another thing. One of the sacks. They say transfer DNA. Just benign transfer that her hair onto one of these burlap sacks connects that burlap sack to, well, her, but her husband, Rex.
Yeah, she leaves. You give him a hug. Some of her hair falls out onto the
happens
back of
all
his
the
shirt.
time. I'm pulling Mrs. Dreds' hair off of me all the time just from sitting, on the couch. I mean, it happens. That happens all the time. Transfer DNA. Yeah,
they have it. Apparently, what they say. But this is breaking every day. There's something new really coming out, and who knows where this is going to go.
I'm kind of. It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm kind of glad that it kind of the audio screwed up on Monday, because some new things have come out all of a sudden, within the past, 10, 15 hours, man, the past 24 hours, they've finished the dig. They're starting to question, the police, why did it take so long? You had the best lead you could possibly ask for in a murder case. 13 years ago, this was not followed up in a manner that is pleasing to those, living in Suffolk County, I would imagine.
Right. And this investigation is actually, in the past week or so, went to several states.
Yes.
It's in Nevada and in South Carolina, I do believe. With his, this Rex has a brother that lives down in South Carolina. And from what I understand, they got a search warrant for his house. You can see that stuff online, what they're searching for, like babies' playpens and all kinds of weird stuff. And I think Atlantic City was another one, because I think they found some partial remains there, one of the victims. So the investigation's there again, and in Las Vegas, I do believe. And it's, who knows exactly what's going on in those investigations there, but that's going to come out here pretty soon, and that'll be interesting to see what's going on there.
Yeah,
maybe he visited a lot of brothels in Las Vegas or Reno or something. Who knows? But
well, we do know. I mean, there are quite a bit of sex workers and prostitution going on in Vegas.
Oh yeah, that's like it's Sin City right there.
So do you think with expanding it to other states that they're trying to connect cases?
I think it's possible in a place like Las Vegas. With the South Carolina one, I believe it's just locking down his brother's house because of some stuff that he had given his brother. But I think with the Atlantic City and the Las Vegas, I think they might be actually looking into some stuff that happened there, probably.
Because we still don't even know the manner of death for any of these bodies found.
Don't.
We don't know, stabbing, guns, which quite possibly could have been a gun. He had about 200 of them.
And when they say that Shannon Gilbert died of accidental drowning, maybe he took all of these women to Gilgo Beach and drowned them and didn't have far to move them up to the beach. So maybe it wasn't accidental. Maybe they all died from drowning. Who knows? He's a big guy.
He is a big guy.
And all of these women were pretty petite, smaller women, 5 feet tall, 100 pounds.
Right around 5 foot. I mean,
this guy's a monster.
This dude is a monster. I mean, he was akin to Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah, he stands out in a crowd.
He really does. He really does. I can't watch this. I'm gonna put Jody on the spot. This is what happens. Hold on, Jody. Are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're on the show.
Hi, Jody.
Oh God, no, I'm going then.
All right.
All right. I love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye. There we go.
She did not want to
talk. Man, if she would have waited about, another couple minutes, man, I'd have talked to her. But yeah, you call me during the show, you're getting thrown on. Yeah, we are at the hour mark. This is going to be interesting, Bobby, to see what unfolds here lately, or here in the upcoming. weeks.
You know what? Getting some justice for these people, man, is a long time coming. Man. It's been a
Yeah.
long time.
And it shouldn't have been.
No, it
It,
shouldn't.
it, it really shouldn't have been. So,
You're right.
All
Absolutely.
right. Well, this show, I think is gonna work. Like I missed it. I want to tune into this. I want to tune into this one. That's all right, because hey, that's okay. That's okay, Kelly. It's gonna be on YouTube directly after I hit end broadcast. You'll be able to rewatch it. And I hope you do, because there's some new stuff that we talked about that's coming out, police corruption, just all kinds of things. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you all for watching after the fact. Sorry you couldn't be here live. Join in on the discussion, because this is an interesting case. Keep your eyes open on this one, the Gilgo Beach Murders. Otis B. Dreds, Bobby, 2 Trill.
Yeah, much
Be-
love, y'all.
Be 2 Trill. Don't be too Trill out there. Have a good hump day. We'll talk to you
Absolutely.
later.